Well, good morning everyone and welcome back to Renovating the Casa bathroom. It's going to be an exciting day for us today as Jen and I move forward with the renovation project. You see behind me over here we framed in the rough framing for the glass block window that's going to come, and then the medicine cabinet. We framed that and then reframed the wall over here. So we're now ready. We've reached the point today. We got all the blocking in on the shower stall. It's time to go today and put in our mortar base down there. Remember, when you're making a shower pan yourself, do it yourself, you can go out and buy the fiberglass ones that will fit your shower stall if you're doing a bath to shower conversion. But the problem is they run $600 to $1,000 for them, and we've got almost a 38-inch wide stall here, 38 inches. That's $1,000. For about $100 with the mortar mix and the wire reinforcing lathe and the builder's paper and the tools, some of which I have here, I can put down a nice mortar base here in the shower. And the shower base is really a three-part process. First is putting down a mortar base that we're going to be doing today, okay? And to make sure that the moisture from the mortar mix does not get all absorbed into the wood, thereby leaving it a sub-strength product. We need it to have maximum strength. We've got to put down some builder's paper there, which is basically waterproof, and what that does, when the mortar's on top of that, the moisture will not soak through to the wood, and the mortar will be able to cure and harden and be very strong, okay? Then once the mortar mix is dry, probably Wednesday or next weekend, we have a vinyl shower liner that we put in there, the big rubber sheet that's going to go about 8 inches up the wall. We put the secondary drain piece on there, the white piece onto it, and then we go ahead and we put another mortar bed on top of that and do our final finished shower cap drain install there. So today is part one. It's got to be done right. If you don't do the mortar right, if you don't slope it correctly towards the drain, you have standing water in certain areas and you might have spots that don't drain properly, and God forbid flow onto the wood or something like that. So all of the mortar has to be properly sloped towards the drain using the formula of about 1/4 of an inch of slope away from the drain for every foot of distance. So we're going to be respecting that today, and there's certain little tools that we can use that will help us gauge to make sure we get the right depth on the mortar. So it's going to be an interesting day. It's going to be another major step forward in the project here. There's not really a lot left to do. You know, we have to rejig the ceiling here, whether we want some skylight, some real modern looking touch on the skylight. I've got to pull new electrical, but then we're putting panels and wall board and cement board and tiling on that and tiling the floor. And you know what, the new fixtures, and we're ready. Call it Bob's your uncle, and the job is done. And that's going to be a major day for Jen and I, the ease and comfort of having a beautiful barrier-free entry shower here. So glad you're here this morning. Let's get to it, okay? I got to go out to the car and get the materials, and I'll bring them in, okay? Hang in there. Trick here is just take your time and get it fitted. Get the base cut in first, round around your corners, then come back and overlap your sides here. It all works good. We're going to cut an extra circle there. First, an extra protection around the drain. We want a lot of strength there. Might actually take that up a little bit and put that down again. I'm not sure. Maybe raise that up, but just cutting around it will be fine. So I got a little bit more to go here, and then we're going to cut the wire lathe and get that put on top. Okay, the boss is on the scene. Good morning, boss. Hey, we're got the wire lathe all in here, all down. I think we're going to cut a special tight circle there and probably double that up by that drain. So probably we can use that outside piece to sort of trace on something. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. But you can see we got all of our builder paper down good. We have it up on the sides, so we're going to have a really nice moisture barrier when we put that mortar in there. Right? Right. Alright, that finishes our pan paper lining here, and you can see I always overlap it on the corners and then run it out the over the slope there. So what I'm going to do now is, you see I have some wire lathe there, and it doesn't have to go end to end. I may cut it and form it so it lays in from side to side, but it just provides the basic reinforcement. So I'm going to go ahead and measure and get that installed, and I'm going to cut that. I have tin snips here, and if it gives me a lot of problem, I'm just going to lay down the one sheet in the center here, and then put the you know, use the I'm going to change up to 3/8 inch staples to get that hook down good. So it should be pretty easy to cut, so I'm hoping. Oh, I tell you, got to be careful cutting this wire lathe. This stuff will cut the hell out of you. And I found a good heavy pair of kitchen shears actually works better than tin snips for cutting this. So I'm cutting the pieces to fit in here. So I'm going to take 2 big pieces, and then we'll fill in around the edges as we see fit. But this will provide great reinforcement for the mortar when we put that down. So you want to make sure every step here is very important for laying a good mortar bed for your shower. Don't want any leaks, okay? You want everything good and tight and reinforced. So we'll see you after we get it cut. Alright guys, we've come to the point now where all the wire lathe is down on the floor, and we're now at what I call a real critical juncture in terms of the install, and we're going to be preparing the mortar to go down here on the wire lathe on the bed. But we don't just stick it in there and flatten it out. You know, we've got to make sure that it is sloped, and the basic formula for sloping the mortar bed is for every foot that the shower stall is away from the drain, it has to have a 1/4 inch of rise of slope towards the drain. If you look down here on the, I have the measuring tape set up, and it's about 44-45 inches, so from the center of the drain here, and the formula would say basically round that off to 4 feet. So the rise from the center of the drain to the wall here has to be 1 inch in total, because the 4-foot rise, 4 times 1/4 inch is 1 inch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure various distances here from the measuring tape from the center of the drain, and I'm going to make reference marks on the side of the wall here. I know I'm blocking lights a little deficient, but I'm going to make reference marks on the side of the wall, so when I go to trowel in and use the float, and finally the finished float here, I'm going to come up to those reference marks and make sure everything is sloped down towards the drain. That means the corner too has to be sloped towards the drain. All the sides, basic calculations have to be made so that we have a good slope. Over on this side here, you'll see that we're about 1 foot from the center of the drain, so that need only go about 1/4 inch high to get the appropriate pitch that we need to get the drainage. So what I'm going to do now is go along and probably take about 10 points around the perimeter here and mark the distance from the drain and do the calculation of 1/4 inch of slope for every foot of distance from the center of the drain, and make marks on the side so that I have a reference point to work the mortar and get that situated real well. And then I'll make sure I'm smoothing that, make sure there's no low spots. I'll have what they call a couple screes, which is a longish wooden boards that'll help me identify low spots that I may have to infill with the mortar. So I'm going to go ahead and do that marking up now. We got the wheelbarrow out in the hall. We're going to go ahead and prepare probably 55 pounds of dry mix at a time. It'll take a little under 3 quarts of water per bag there. And the trick is, we don't want that mortar to be wet. We want that to be like cookie dough. We want to make sure that that is still crumbly, but it holds its shape. When we put it in the fist of our hand, it will hold that shape. So it's very important that it not be too dry nor too wet. So I'm going to go around now and mark my reference points on the side of the shower, okay? All the markup has now been done, and I put a lot of reference marks around the outside. And then I don't know how well you can see it. Let me clip the light lower here. You can see that I put some blue tape on there. It connects the various reference lines and gives me a slope as it moves away from the drain. And I've done that at all the locations here. So all I have to do is just take the mortar up to the bottom of the tape, and we've got a good slope sloping towards the drain here. So should all be good. We're going to go ahead now and mix up the mortar mix, get my masonry tools out, and get started. Okay, don't go anywhere.